right is in New York City. Well, if all 6 of them go under, first of all, the banks in New York are broke. They're running 2 sets of books. Secondly, and more importantly, how are they going to pay this money? They can't. Unless, of course, all of a sudden we have another TARP, and they say, well, the Federal Reserve says, here's $700 billion. Go fix that thing up. They may do that.
All right, Bob, I want to take a couple phone calls here for you, but just and maybe do 5 minutes of overdrive so I can get to everybody that's at least holding, and I appreciate everybody holding. Briefly, U.S. warship aircraft carrier now at the coast of Syria after the Russians put a ship there. They're talking about non-military bombing, which is more Orwellian speak. We really live in Orwellville. And they met to discuss the unconfirmed crimes of the Syrian regime in Egypt while their Western-backed military machine guns people on the street and tortures people en masse. So, I mean, it's like we're planet hypocrisy or something. It's reached absurdist levels, Bob.
Well, I think if the United States chooses with NATO to go into Syria, Russia is going to get involved. And it could be the beginning of a third world war.
So what is Russia going to do? I mean, they've said don't cross that red line. That's a quote. I mean, what does that mean?
Well, they'll challenge aircraft coming into the country, into this no-fly zone that happen to belong to NATO. And they'll shoot them down. And incidentally, the Russian equipment of all kinds is just as good as what America's got. And their pilots are just as good. So the United States is going to pay a big price for this one because they sent in 20 planes and they lose half of them. I don't think there's going to be a lot of happy people. And even if Russia loses half of them, they really could care less. This is a very, very important port that they've got here. It's their jumping off point for their naval operations.
It's their only Mediterranean. It's their only Mediterranean port, and it's absolutely strategic. And Russia sees this encirclement that's going on. And, of course, China's teamed up with the globalists. Do you agree Chinese are teamed up with the globalists against Russia?
I suspect it, but I don't know it. It's something I can't firmly say yes. Amazing.
But, I mean, it just shows they just keep taking country down after country by having rebels that they have attack. And when the country tries to fight the rebels, they call them peace activists. I mean, what do you make of them openly giving Libya to al-Qaeda and admitting it? And I bring this up to good old boys. All over the country, I see signs saying, we'll never forget 9/11. So I go in a barbecue place, and they've got, all this stuff festooning everywhere. And I go in, and I say, when I'm getting the barbecue, I say, hey, I see your sign. Are you concerned about al-Qaeda being given control of Libya? They're like, huh? I don't want to talk about it. I mean, they just want to act tough and, get upset about al-Qaeda. And I'm like, okay, well, our government's working with al-Qaeda. They don't want to hear it, though, Bob. They just want al-Qaeda to be given the basis.
Yeah, and that's true. And that's just an extension of the CIA and the U.S. government. And that will continue to go on here, there, and everywhere, so to speak. And they're going to probably push things. I don't know how quickly it'll happen in Syria. Things always take longer than you think that they will. But I expect that because they've gone in with this new supply zone, I would think that probably 2 or 3 months they might make a move.
All right, Bob Chapman is our guest. We'll be right back on the other side of this quick break. We're going to take your phone calls on this segment and the next, and that's it for this broadcast. Stay with us.
Smokers, are you still...
Social engineers don't want us to realize that you can't make a deal with this system. It is attacking everybody. Okay, let's go to your phone calls here. Sean in Tennessee, thanks for holding patiently. Good to hear from you worldwide. Welcome.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good.
I talked to you back in August. I was in law enforcement for about 10 years, and I just wanted to make a couple quick points. It might help the protesters or other people when they protest to quit asking for their rights. Maybe if they put up billboards or something at their protest stating the First, Second, Fourth, Fifth Amendments on the billboard so that it's plain for the officers to see so that they cannot act in good faith and violate those laws without it being in the forefront of the media.
Well, yeah, and then they're also having elements of Occupy Wall Street that's been proven to be George Soros controlled, and he's now admitting he's funded a bunch of the stuff in the Middle East going on, to where they ban my website and things, and they ban Ron Paul stuff, so they're just as bad as the police arresting him for their First Amendment. And then they also do things like trying to occupy stores, go into private events with Ron Paul, to then make everybody turn against him. See how it's designed to turn everybody against the First Amendment? It's just like they hired fake hippie groups to spit on troops getting off airplanes for photo ops in the 60s and 70s. This is a psyop. Go ahead.
Well, again, if you put the law right there in front of everybody for any camera to catch it, it takes the argument away. Everybody always argues the First Amendment or Second Amendment. Most people don't even read the Constitution. The case in point of that would be my father-in-law yesterday. I was over at his house, and I had sent him an email through Facebook about a 9/11 director's cut, and I asked him if he'd even seen it, and he said, "Oh, that's all a bunch of crap." I said, "Oh, so you watched it?" And he said, "No, I don't need to watch it. It's all a bunch of crap." But they shut the dialogue down before they even entertain the other part of the view. So, I mean, to get the information out, to force the conversation is what's needed, because most people don't even want to entertain the thought.
Well, the way to approach it is you explain that it's the truth. There are criminal elements that are financing terrorist groups. Hey, father-in-law, you heard they've given Libya to al-Qaeda. Let me show you a CBS News headline, al-Qaeda flag flying over Libya. Show him that first, and then he'll be like, wow. Now, he'll do one of two things. He'll either get mad and say, I still don't care, or he'll say, wow, tell me more. But you've at least got a chance showing them something like that. I mean, that's one thing concerned Bilderberg Group this last meeting this year in Switzerland. We got from Jim Tucker is the fact that it's come out that their force on the ground is al-Qaeda. That they do. They are scared of that al-Qaeda works for NATO. Anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, just real quick. Also, I haven't seen this guy for about 3 years, but he was a DA buddy of mine. He's a real good guy, but he saw me in the store, and he didn't say, hey, how you doing, man? I haven't seen you in a while. He said, I noticed you post all that Ron Paul stuff on your Facebook. And I said, well, I like him. He's a good guy. And he said, well, somebody has to. And I said, well, he believes in freedom, the Second Amendment. He wants to bring the troops home. He wants to correct our financial issue. I said, are those not good things? He said, I believe in some of that. I'm thinking, some of that? How can you just believe in some of those things?
Well, a lot of people that work for the system have been sold that we've got to have a little tyranny to keep things going. Yeah. Again, you've seen the law enforcement magazines where do you torture somebody to stop a terror attack? It's all this fantasy that the video games are where now you kill cops to stop them from making a mistake and detonating the bomb. It's this situational ethics. I appreciate your call. Bob Chapman, take us out to the next segment here. What's your take on what he was just saying?
Well, I think there's some validity to it. And I think law enforcement in general understands these things. You've got certain people in there, you've always had them in there, that are going to cause problems. And whether they are sent to do that or whether that's of their own making remains to be seen. And it's probably a combination of both. The exposure that is being given to the Bilderberger types, the Goldman Sachs.
Stay there. Back in 1 minute. I want to hear this. Main radio show's over. See you back Sunday, 4 to 6. 5 minutes overdrive. Internet only. Infowars.com. Stand by.
Hey, folks.
All right, I'm out of control today. I don't want to get to all your calls. I got to move quick now.
Deep in the heart of FEMA Region 6, Austin, Texas. Transmitting worldwide, it's Alex Jones.
Man, that's a cool liner. We got to play that more. I'm going to play that this Sunday on the Sunday show, 4 to 6. All right, I want to jam in a few more calls from Bob Chapman. Bob, you were raising the exposure the Bilderberg Group and others are getting. Go ahead.
And and they're very, very disturbed about this. They can't avoid it. And we talked earlier about conditioning that, yes, this world government sort of thing is going on and we're the best people to run it. But on the other side, you've got these people talking about what they're doing, what they caused, and who's the culprit in this whole thing. And so they're having a hard time handling both sides. And they're not being successful at muting what needs to be muted for their side, so to speak. And so I think the gains that they're trying to make, they're paying for extremely painfully.
Let's talk to Mike in New Jersey. Mike, thanks for holding.
Yeah, can you hear me good?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm looking at a PDF. It says Civil Action 8500, and it was filed in the Southern District of New York. And it seems to be that it's against the UN, Ban Ki-moon, the Republic of Italy, and Berlusconi. And they're accusing them of stealing bonds worth over $1 trillion. I was wondering if you guys have heard of this, and the judge is Judge Howell. H-O-L-W-E-L.
I know there's a lot of actions going on with stolen bonds all over the world. I heard about this Italy thing a while back. Bob?
I heard it from time to time, but I don't have knowledge of what the gentleman's speaking of.
Yeah, who's bringing the civil action?
Had a lot of bogus bonds over the last number of years.
It says Neil F. Keenan. The last name is K-E-E-N-A-N. And the law firm is Bleakley, Pratt & Schmidt, LLP.
Do me a favor, email that to Show Tips. That's very interesting, sir.
Okay, I will.
Anything else?
One more thing. You ever heard of the Act of 1871 in which they created a corporate government for the United States Corporation?
Yes, I have. Bob Chapman?
No comment. I'm not familiar enough with it to make intelligent commentary.
They definitely operate under two different laws, and now they're removing the republic and phasing in this corporate administrative law system. There's no doubt about that. I appreciate your call. One more for Bob Chapman here, and I'm sorry to the others. I'll see you this Sunday, 4 to 6. I'll be live. Baron in Alabama, go ahead. Baron, go ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. We've actually spoken a couple times before. So
yeah, I actually can't understand you. Your speakerphone's too bad. Can you actually pick the phone up?
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so the question that I have basically, you touched on how people kind of go running from the truth when you try to confront people about things, right? So there's two types of people out there that one go running and the other type basically have to be at whatever their pace is. Now, what I've done, you basically inspired me to start my own website, basically amplifying your message. I've emailed a couple of times. I've actually put up a couple of videos. One about how on the Brooklyn Bridge, that day that they marched, the Occupy Wall Street protest, snatched an Infowars.com sign down from in front of the live stream camera.
Yeah,
and
somebody said for me to come watch a video of that, and then I forgot to never point it out. But yeah, the Occupier leadership doesn't like Ron Paul or Infowars.com. They banned us on their websites. We're almost out of time. Finish up the story.
Okay, so my basic point was that they seem to be pulling all of these stunts to basically where they're trying to slow down the awakening. And I want to know what you see coming as far as the economy, because they seem to be slowing the economy down, but speeding everything else up, like the wars, the police.
No, I hear you. I'll have to talk about it Sunday. Thank you, Bob Chapman. We'll see you back Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. Retransmission starts now.
George Washington said, "Government is not reason, it is not eloquence, it is force, like fire. It is a dangerous servant and a fearful master. America's government is no longer the